I want to talk about interfaces on bikes. So, like, what are some interfaces and how do they add functionality on bikes? Well, let me talk about the simplest one that I think adds a lot of functionality. There's the water bottle braze on, right? With a water bottle braze on, and honestly, some of our bikes have two of them, some have one, depending on the bike. But having a water bottle braze on, first of all, you can add a pump to it. I mean, you can always add a pump and then a water bottle cage. It adds so much functionality. I mean, you can go for longer distances, especially if you have two water bottle mounts. You can go for almost unlimited because you can always fill up, right? One water bottle's good, but two would just be phenomenal because you can fill one up when one's empty. When that one's empty, you still have another one to go. And so that's a very easy functional way to add use to your bicycle. You can just ride a lot longer. It's not limiting. You're not limited by water. So I think that's a big deal. What else? We have a pump interface on a lot of our bikes behind the seat tube, and I think that's really nice. But like I said, you can actually use the water bottle interfaces for a pump as well. So you don't need that. In addition, kickstand mount, right? So some people like kickstands. I'm not a kickstand kind of person. I actually, if I get a bike with a kickstand, I usually take it off because I just don't use them that often. And I just don't see the reason to, carry that weight if I'm not going to use it at all. But some people like them. At the end of the day, I think having the option to turn a bike into a commuter, because commuters always have kickstands, is essential. And so pretty much all our bikes have the option of having kickstand if they don't come with one. So I think that's a really big deal. What else? What other interfaces are there? Well, you can have essentially disc brake interfaces on the frame. And that really changes your bike because rim brakes are great. I'm the biggest fan of rim brakes, especially on folding bikes you're ever going to see. However, as realistic as, I have to be realistic too, that, if you live on the top of a mountain and you're going down the mountain, the rim brakes will melt. And so you're going to need some discs. So having the option to go to disc is essential, right? And so almost all our bikes have that option, right? Almost all. And I think that's very, very important. Right? Rack interfaces are huge. Why are they huge? Well, if you're just riding your bike, you don't really need a rack for the most part. But if you're going to do some touring, bike across the country, bike across Europe, bike around the world, how's that sound? I think you're going to need a rack. I mean, let me just say this, you're going to need a rack. You need to carry some stuff, man. So yeah, I think rack interfaces are essential to allow functionality, not just for commuting, but for touring and other things. So I think that's a big deal. Head tube bag interface is huge. It's really nice to have a little bag in the front that pops on and off. And all our bikes have that at this point. And I mean, if you're touring, you can put a map in that bag. It's really cool. That's the spot for your map. I guess the people don't use maps now, they use phones. So whatever, maybe you could put your phone in there. But either way, it's a nice location. And the other thing that's really nice about having a bag in the front is bikes are generally rear heavy because of the drivetrain. So putting a bag in the front is ideal because it gets the weight closer to 50-50 front rear. So it's really nice. And so those are some of the interfaces that really add value and functionality to a bicycle. Oh, one more, and actually a front derailleur braze on, right? So that's an interface. So having a front derailleur braze on is something that can add, it can either double or triple the number of gears that you have. And if you're going to tour like across the country, around the world, you're going to need a front derailleur. That I can tell you. And so just having the option of being able to do this is a really big deal. So yeah, if you're looking for a bike, just make sure you have as much functionality long term to do whatever you want to do in case you change, your goals. If you want to, bike around the world, across the country, across town, or whatever. So you can take some stuff with you and Take your kids. And the other thing that's really nice, like on a rack on my folding bike, I actually used to carry two kids back when they weighed about 50 pounds each. I actually had them on a rack. It was funny. It was way over the recommended capacity for the rack and the bike, but it worked out pretty good. All right. Thank you all for watching. Appreciate it. Take care. Goodbye.